Hello everyone and welcome to Full Stack Data Quality for Snowflake session. It is a product deep dive session introducing the new features and functionalities in Ataccama 1 that are coming in the version 14. My name is Lenka Studničná and I am product manager in the DQ team at Ataccama. If you were part of the product keynote earlier, you might have already seen me talking about a big new feature in version 14, that being the data processing push down on Snowflake, meaning that now the data can be processed not only on Ataccama server, but also directly on Snowflake warehouse. So in this session, I would like to talk a little bit more about the context, about the data quality, what Ataccama can offer to both Snowflake users, but also to users of any other data source. And then we will take a look under the hood and see how the processing of data is currently working in Ataccama 1 and what the Snowflake pushdown is bringing in version 14. So since you are sitting here in this session, you are attending this conference, I hope that I don't have to be persuading you that the data quality is really important in any work that is related to data, and poor data quality or even unknown data quality can lead to serious problems with achieving the goals, having business impact, being a major obstacle in various business flows. So I will skip this and let's actually take a look on why or how the data and data quality is a little bit specific in case you are using Snowflake as your source and you have Snowflake users. So Snowflake being a full SaaS database, it means that it is really easy to use. The users don't have to take care of any hardware, any software. They basically can start utilizing both storage and some actions on the storage. And that leads to empowering especially users that are searching for some value in the data, that are exploring them. It enables them to efficiently and quickly create their own, not only data sets, but whole models and structures. It's easier than in the traditional database, and very frequently they are kind of using it as a playground or creating their own sets and views to actually provide data into their own applications. We also see that companies really like the quite unique feature of Snowflake, which is sharing data outside the organization. And also, since the Snowflake is actually providing quite a lot of connectors and drivers out of the box, people like to, of course, connect it to their own application, including BI tools, including tools for data analysis, or something quite specific to their use case. Of course, this behavior that might be slightly different from traditional databases, it's bringing some challenges. If you are, of course, free to play with the data and everything is open to you, it can lead to low level of governance, which can manifest in both potentially having multiple sets of data or data sets that were created for some purpose that could be reused by someone else in the organization, but the data is not shared. No one knows actually about existence of such data set. And then if we are talking how easy it is to share and integrate the data, if of course the data does not have the proper quality, or if you don't know what the quality of the data is, it can impact much wider range of data consumers. It can impact the reports that are being created down the line. It can be influencing the data processes. If you are familiar with Ataccama 1, it won't be any surprise for you that we are actually bringing solution exactly for this kind of problems, and specifically the challenges I mentioned that are typical for the data analysts and data engineers working with Snowflake can be addressed by introducing Ataccama 1, specifically capabilities of data catalog, data observability, and data quality. We do have another deep dive sessions for data catalog and for data observability here, so I won't be covering details of those use cases, but let's actually take a look on the data quality. To quickly see what Ataccama data quality is about, I will actually switch to the application itself. So now I'm looking at Ataccama 1 interface. Specifically, I'm here in data catalog, which shows information collected from all connected sources, being this Snowflake or not Snowflake. And what is the first steps, or the complete basics of data quality as we see it, is data profiling. Data profiling is executed automatically by Ataccama 1 when you are importing information about your structures into the tool, so no configuration is needed. And the profiling can show you some basic and advanced statistical characteristics about your data. So in my case, I'm looking on table called party full. It is a table, if you would take a look, that actually contains information about some customers, including name, birth date, social insurance number, address, etc. And it contains 140,000 records. So of course, on the first look, I might be able to spot some characteristics, but of course, I'm looking just on a data sample. So the profile offers me much more detailed picture on what is in data. Like if I would, I can take a look on either on the whole table, or I can drill down to an individual attribute, like in my case, SRCSIN, which is social insurance number. And here it is giving me information if I have any duplicates, which is quite interesting for me. From the a little bit more advanced analysis, we have here, for example, mask analysis, showing us what are the patterns found in data. So I see that half of my values are actually just digits, represented here by the Ds, but quite a lot of values have like 3 letters first, maybe SIN and then a digit. And I also see that there are some probably not correct lengths of the numbers, maybe some special characters. And this is giving me the information about the data in the table. So if I'm someone who need to use this table, this data set, to actually create my own application or start using it for some marketing campaign, I should be aware of this. And maybe I want to also take the next step and actually start evaluating data quality that will capture some of the cases that I know that are not correct, because I need to actually get rid of any extra characters in the social interest number in my case. And then leads us to the second part of the data quality that I would like to show today, and that's the automated data quality evaluation. So, as part of the profiling, Ataccama platform can actually automatically analyze the data inside the table and find out that this field it's called SIN, but it's containing actually not Canadian social insurance number, but US social security number. So, okay, we have this term now assigned here. And thanks to this term, thanks to this domain that was detected, the platform can then automatically apply rules that are relevant for social security number. So if in your rule collection, in your rule library, you have rules related to this term, they are automatically assigned. And that leads us to, or that can produce screen with the overview of data quality, where in my case it's pretty simple. We have terms, domains detected on 2 attributes. We have some rules related to them and evaluated. Of course, you can, if you wish to, you can manually add additional terms. So in case of our social insurance number, we see that we have a rule with some definition applied and see what are the results. This is something that, again, if you have related rules in your rule library, all this is applied automatically. So whenever any data set is imported to Ataccama or it's ingested by Ataccama, we automatically measure this data quality. Again, if you are a user, Snowflake user that is looking for some data or wants to use some data, this gives you the first information if the table that you would like to use is in a good shape, or if you need to do some alterations, some adjustments. Of course, this like automated data quality based on the detected domains is nice, but sometimes you also need to be a little bit more targeted and kind of like cherry pick your own rules that you would like to apply, and also define that possibly you want to display the results in a little bit more complex way. And that's exactly the use case that is in Ataccama 1 covered by the data quality monitoring projects. So this is a place where on any, if you apply rules or on any of your data sets, you can then aggregate the rules into some groups, produce reports like this that are not only reflecting the newest data quality, but also looking on the history, while still having information about all the rules. And it is possible even to enable some slicing of the data based on values in certain columns, or see not in this case, but see samples actually of invalid data. I will show you this functionality later on the newer project. So this is like a really short introduction to what we can cover in data quality. If you are interested in more details, there are of course much more functionalities, and if you already know data quality in Ataccama, you still might be surprised about some new improvements and features that are coming in version 14. So now let's take a look under the hood. So what is happening when I'm basically clicking on the button I want to profile the data, or if this is triggered automatically by the import. if I have some definition of data quality rules, I didn't show this in the application, but this is example of how a rule is defined in a, let's say, business language. Or if we actually apply the rules in catalog or in data quality monitoring project and evaluate it. So, of course, the fact that we want to profile data, what rules do we have, on what data set are we applying this, all of that needs to be taken, the information taken, put together with the actual data from your data source that you would like to evaluate and processed by something. In case of Ataccama 1, all the, let's say, metadata that are represented in the web applications are actually then transferred into some configuration files. And the configurations files are sent to Ataccama data processing engine, which based on the configuration then requests the data from the source. So this white arrow, this bold arrow is showing that this is how the data is flowing to the engine. The engine crunches the rules, the aggregations, etc., and provides the desired outputs, the reports, maybe some exports to another database, whatever is part of your scenario. If the source is Snowflake in particular, we can take a little bit closer look. So as you might know, in Snowflake actually works with like 3-tier architecture containing data storage, which is the place where the data are actually stored. Then the warehouse, which is basically data processing engine that take care of all the requests to the storage. And then it's some application layer that is, let's say, not relevant for our use case right now. So when, as I was showing, when we want to evaluate the data, grab the data from Snowflake, it actually means that the Ataccama data processing engine sends request something like select everything from certain table, takes the data to the engine and evaluates it there in form of like Java virtual machine, the engine itself. So this is how it was working until now. So of course, Ataccama was able to connect to a Snowflake data source already in version 13. Some of you are already using this. But in version 14, we are actually introducing the new way of the processing, the pushdown processing, the in-place processing, where the data are not being transferred to Ataccama data processing engine, DPE, at all, but instead they are running directly on Snowflake on the warehouse. That means that the configurations of the profilings of the rules, information, what should be applied on what, are actually taken by the data processing engine. It translates them into Snowflake jobs, send them to Snowflake. The Snowflake job is being processed on the warehouse, and only the results, typically aggregated results, are then sent to Ataccama DPE, stored in our own storages. So the results can be then displayed again in the application in form of the profile, the data quality report, as we saw before. This translation is utilizing both native functions that are already present in Snowflake, meaning the typical SQL functions that are available that can be used for composing the query. But of course, if you know Ataccama a little bit, you know that our rules and expression can be using much more advanced functions. For example, soundex comparing the sound of certain strings, how close some strings are when they are being pronounced, and such functions needs to be introduced to Snowflake, and we are utilizing user-defined functions. This means we are utilizing actually Snowpark, a framework that allows us to use our Java code and basically expose it in form of the user-defined functions. And then in a similar way, the Snowpark takes care of translating this configuration into a Snowflake job, into a SQL request, utilizing exactly the functions as we see them here. All right, so this is how it works. If we look again on a little bit bigger picture, when we have any data processing in Ataccama, the standard way that was present in the platform, even in the previous version, is that the data processing is happening on DPEs, data processing engines. Of course, one Ataccama web application can be connected to multiple DPEs that are strategically placed close to your source data. So if you have multiple sources, like on-premise databases or cloud databases, the DPE can be sitting close to them, so the data transfer is efficient. Then I didn't mention this previously, but Snowflake is not our first pushdown. For quite some time, we also have ability to run our processing on Spark. So if you have your Spark Hadoop data lakes, Ataccama can again translate the Ataccama configurations into Spark job and running it directly on your cluster. And now the new functionality in version 14 is the native pushdown on Snowflake that we just saw. This pushdown processing, it can be used in Ataccama for all data quality related processings, including the data observability, profiling, data quality catalog, or the monitoring projects, including not just the rule evaluation, but also computation of some aggregations. So let's actually take a look how it actually works in the application. I am back in Ataccama 1, and basically the only difference that can be spotted by the typical user is, in a way, how are we connecting to our source system. So if I go to a place where we are defining connection to our sources, I do have here already a connection to Snowflake, and as part of the connection to this database, we have here a couple of additional information. So as part of the JDBC connection string that we are using, we are referencing not only the database with the actual data, but we are also choosing which warehouse, since Snowflake can have multiple warehouses, so which warehouse we want to be using for the computation. So if you have, let's say, small warehouses, large warehouses, you can decide which one is the best fit for utilizing for your use cases within Ataccama. And then there is tick pushdown processing enabled. If I untick this, I can still normally work with this data source within Ataccama, but then the processing is done the old way, meaning on our Ataccama server. If I tick this on, then the processing is happening on directly on the Snowflake. We also need to have here some working database, and working database is the place that we are using for storing the user-defined functions and some other artifacts. So as I was mentioning here, the user-defined function, we need to store them somewhere. So this is exactly the place. So the screen I was showing live, I have here also the also summary on the slide. But let's actually go back. If you are curious how the functions look, we can see. So now I switched actually to the interface for my Snowflake database, and I am since I configured my working database work here, let's take a look there. And in my database work, I can see my functions, and I can see quite a lot of Ataccama functions as they were deployed, including for sure the soundex I was mentioning. Here it is. So soundex that is comparing pronunciation of two strings. We see that this function is actually using some of the jar files as they were created by the Snowpark library. Those are our functions. And now if I actually trigger some processing, let's do that. So I will go to a monitoring project that I actually created earlier, but it's a project using the party full table that we saw before. And on this table, I applied here 3 rules. One rule for validation surname. This is the logic of the rule. It's basically looking for the value in reference data, in reference file called surnames. It's a large lookup, large reference data set. Then we have gender validation. The implementation is kind of similar, or exactly similar type of a rule, looking on a reference data gender. But in this case, the gender is quite a small data set with 10, 15 values. I'm mentioning this because you will see that based on the size of the lookup, we are actually translating the logic differently into SQL. And then my third rule is patterns of emails, where I'm looking if it does not contain word no reply, if it's not empty, and if it's matching some regular expression. So now if I run my monitoring project, I see that the evaluation started, and if everything works as I expect, we can take a look again back into the Snowflake, into the activity, and I see that I have here some job running. Since we are using one of the big lookups, this is actually updating the lookup with the names. After it replaced the lookup, it actually did the main portion of the job. So looking on this, we see quite a lot is happening. So this is actually the request that is evaluating the 3 rules. I won't be pretending that I understand everything as it is, like what does it mean, but we can quite easily spot that when it comes to the gender that was using the lookup for gender, it actually translated the lookup directly in the list of the values. Then this yeah, then this part here is the one that is looking on the email. So you see that in the logic of the rule, we were actually evaluating some regular expression. So this is now utilizing the user-defined function, the type of the custom function that I was mentioning before, called Ataregex matches. And if I would find in this string the name, we would see that it's actually using some lookup in form of some temporary table. So this is just illustration that, hey, it's actually working and running on Snowflake, and the results are then visible in the traditional report, where the normal user wouldn't even notice that that there were any differences. So the outputs are completely the same, regardless if you run it on Snowflake or within the application. All right. One last thing, I believe everyone will be interested about the performance, because of course big characteristic of the Snowflake is the scalability. You can also choose like what warehouse, what size are you using. So here, like really quickly, I just want to illustrate that the evaluation, for example, the profiling, that is scaling really well when we look on the set of 600 million records. It takes half a minute on the large warehouses. The warehouses are named, if you are not familiar with it, they are named based on the size from extra small up to, I believe, six extra large. So in not on the large, on the L, is taking half a minute. If we would like run 10 times bigger table, it's taking 10 times longer. And it's similar for the data quality rules. So the times are really nice, I would say. And that, of course, also translates into how much computation power you need on the Snowflake. It's like really optimized. So the cost in the Snowflake credits is very, very reasonable. All right, so this is it. If I would do a summary of what the new functionality, the data processing push down on Snowflake is bringing to you, I would put it into, let's say, three main takeaways. Utilizing it, you are leveraging the Snowflake performance. You don't have to be transferring data from Snowflake to Ataccama engine. You can utilize directly the Snowflake, and of course take advantage of the great scalability of their warehouses. The fact that you are not transferring the data outside of your ecosystem is, of course, also appreciated by the security and the policies you might have in place. And last but not least, although you still, of course, need Ataccama server for in quotes, translating Ataccama jobs into the Snowflake SQL, this piece of the Ataccama architecture is really small. So it is a tiny server that takes care only about the translation. So it's like I believe like 1 course 4 megabyte it's enough, and the heavy duty stuff is done by the Snowflake, meaning you don't need to acquire some large infrastructure or or growing your infrastructure when your projects and data sets are growing bigger. So if you are a Snowflake user and Ataccama user, I think it's a great opportunity for you to basically switch to this type of deep processing. In case you are Snowflake user that does not really yet measure the data quality and does not really catalog what is going on in their system, try to use Ataccama 1 and you will see very, very soon the benefits that it is bringing to all the users of the data. All right. Thank you for your attention. In case you have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact me directly or any of the Ataccama communication channels. We will be happy to show you more details about this feature and we can discuss together how it will suit your own use case in your own organization. Thank you.